If anyone asks, these shoes are mine. Lie with confidence, Kamsi. I repeated the words like a prayer as I slid my feet into the red-bottom heels that could pay my rent for 6 months. They fit like a dream, my boss's dream, not mine. In my reality, I couldn't even afford new slippers without planning a whole budget around it. But tonight wasn't about reality. Tonight was about pretending. Ah, see babe. Ngozi, my best friend, whistled as I stepped out of the tiny bedroom. If elegance was a person, E for BU. I laughed, adjusting the slit of the borrowed dress. A beg no whine me. You know say if madam catch me en, na burial straight. Ngozi grinned. Relax. Your boss go day Dubai, abi no be wettin' you talk. Enjoy this wedding, my sister. Who knows? Your husband fit day there. Her words made me snort, but a small part of me hoped she was right. Not that I believed in fairy tales. Lagos had taught me that love was for those who could afford it. But for one night, just one night, I wanted to feel like the girl who belonged in a room full of chandeliers and champagne flutes. The Uber dropped me at a massive event hall draped in gold and white. Exotic cars lined the parking lot, machines I had only seen on Instagram. My heartbeat quickened as I walked inside. Head held high like I owned the place. People sparkled. Sequins, diamonds, perfect makeup. I clutched my tiny clutch, praying no one noticed my cheap foundation melting under the lights. Then it happened. I saw him. First I thought my eyes were playing tricks. But no, he was real. Tall, with skin the color of rich mahogany and a presence that made the air shift. His black tuxedo hugged his frame like it was tailored by angels. And those eyes. Dark, calm, but dangerous in the way they pulled you in without effort. He stood by the bar, swirling a glass of champagne like the world belonged to him. Maybe it did. And for some reason his gaze found me. Held me. My breath stuttered. I looked away too fast, heat crawling up my neck. Men like that didn't look at women like me. But when I risked a glance, he was still watching. Steady, unblinking, like he was trying to figure me out. Ngozi's voice jolted me. Kamsi, that's Toby Ajayi. The name hit like thunder. Toby Ajayi, the billionaire tech mogul, the man who built an empire before 35, the face on Forbes Africa. And right now his eyes were on me. If confidence was a currency, I was broke. My hands clutched my clutch so tight I thought it would snap. I told myself to breathe, to stop looking his way. But it was like my eyes had developed a mind of their own. Toby Ajayi. Billionaire. Every woman's fantasy. Every man's envy. And somehow, his gaze was still fixed on me like I'd cast a spell. Girl, close your mouth before fly enter, Ngozi whispered with a smirk, giving my arm a playful nudge. I forced a laugh, dragging my eyes away from him. I needed to blend in, enjoy the wedding, and escape without embarrassing myself. Simple plan, right? Well, because just as I turned, someone bumped into me. A waiter balancing a tray of champagne glasses. The golden liquid cascaded down the front of my borrowed dress like liquid shame. Oh my God! I gasped, clutching the fabric. My brain screamed finished. Ruined. Are you okay? A deep voice rumbled behind me. Froze. Turned slowly. There he was. Closer now. Taller than I imagined. His tuxedo was perfection, his cologne, dear Lord, was sin-bottled in a designer fragrance. Yeah, I stammered, heat flooding my face. He reached for a napkin and began dabbing gently at the stain. His fingers brushing against my skin. Electricity shot through me so hard my knees wobbled. You don't seem fine, he said softly, eyes lifting to meet mine. Up close, they were even worse. Intense, piercing, like they could strip away every lie I'd ever told. I'm fine, I managed, my voice a whisper. A faint smile tugged at his lips, as if he could hear the lie in my tone. Good. I'd hate for the most interesting woman in this hall to have her night ruined. My brain short-circuited. Did he just call me interesting? Thank you, I muttered, trying not to drown in his stare. He glanced at the bar, then back at me. Can I buy you a drink? Or two? buy me a drink. My heart was already doing acrobatics. And now he wanted to sit with me. I nodded before my brain could stop me. Sure. And just like that, I was walking beside Toby Ajayi, my heels clicking on the marble floor, pretending I belonged in his world. But deep down, one thought gnawed at me like a rat in the dark. If he knew the truth, that the shoes on my feet weren't mine, that I worked for peanuts in a tiny boutique, would he still look at me like this? The band was playing a soft highlife tune when it happened. 1 second, the hall glittered with lights. The next, everything plunged into darkness. A few gasps rippled through the guests, followed by the hum of murmured voices. "And on start again," someone joked, but nobody laughed. My heart thumped like a drum in my chest. I stood still, clutching my clutch, praying I wouldn't trip and embarrass myself in these borrowed heels. Then a warm hand found mine. "Don't panic," a deep voice murmured in the darkness. "Obi." His voice was calm, firm, like the steady hum of a generator in chaos. Before I could answer, soft glows of fairy lights flickered on around the hall, weaving a golden halo through the shadows. It wasn't bright, just enough to cast everything in a dreamy haze. Couples murmured and laughed as the band, unfazed, kept playing. "Seems the universe wants us to talk," he said, his fingers still brushing against mine. I laughed nervously. "Or maybe it wants us to run before the heat kills us." That smile. I could feel it even in the dim light. "Hey, just for one song." Then he offered his hand properly, palm open, waiting. And like a fool I took it. The moment his hand closed over mine, something shifted. He led me gently toward an open space where a few brave souls had started swaying to the music. My heart screamed run, but my feet obeyed him. His other hand found the small of my back, warm, steady, claiming. I looked up and for the first time saw his face under the glow of the fairy lights. The shadows softened his jaw, made his eyes darker, deeper, like secrets I wasn't ready to keep. "You don't seem like someone who likes weddings," I teased, trying to calm my nerves as his thumb brushed my waist in a way that made my breath falter. "I don't," he said simply. "But tonight feels different." His voice dropped on the last word, and something in the way he said it made my pulse trip over itself. We swayed slowly, the world melting around us. Music, laughter, whispers, none of it mattered. For those few minutes it was just us. His hand at my back. My fingers curled against his shoulder. My chest rising and falling too fast because being this close to him felt dangerous in the sweetest way. When the lights finally blinked back on, I blinked too, like waking from a dream I didn't want to end. But reality came rushing in when Gozi's voice cut through the crowd like a knife. "Kamsi, you didn't tell me you were dancing with Toby Ajayi." Heads turned, people stared, and just like that, the bubble burst. The whispers started before I could even catch my breath. "That's Toby Ajayi, right? Ah, see as the girl hold him tight. Nah him oh. The billionaire that bought that tech company last month." My pulse slammed against my ribs as my eyes darted around the room. People were looking, some curious, some envious, others ready to drag me alive on Instagram. I turned to Toby, panic rising in my throat. I should go." "Why?" His voice was calm, like none of this mattered. "Because you're him. Because I'm standing in borrowed heels, wearing a dress that doesn't belong to me, pretending to be someone I'm not. I need to get home," I stammered, clutching my clutch like it could shield me from the truth. He didn't push. Instead, he gave me that faint smile again, the one that made my knees weak, and said, "Let me walk you out." Every step toward the exit felt like a countdown to exposure. Outside, the night air was cool against my burning cheeks. Cars purred along the driveway, drivers in white shirts waiting for their bosses like silent shadows. Toby stopped near a sleek black car that probably cost more than the entire street I lived on. He turned to me, hands in his pockets, studying me like a puzzle he wanted to solve. "You never told me your name," he said quietly. My breath hitched. "Kamsi." He repeated it slowly like he wanted to taste it. "Kamsi. I like that." I forced a smile, praying he couldn't hear the war in my chest. "Can I see you again?" he asked. Not demanded, asked like a man unafraid of hearing no. Froze. Every instinct screamed to run before this lie swallowed me whole. But then he stepped closer, lowering his voice, and said the words that killed my resistance. "You feel it too, don't you? This connection." My heart betrayed me with its frantic rhythm. My lips parted before my brain could catch up. "Yes." His smile deepened. "Give me your number." I hesitated, just for a second, then typed it into his phone with trembling fingers. When my Uber pulled up, he opened the door like a gentleman. And as I slid into the back seat, he leaned down, eyes locking on mine like a promise. "Good night, Campsey. Don't make me wait too long." The door shut. The car pulled away. And that was the moment reality punched me in the gut. Because if Toby Ajayi, the man every woman in Nigeria wanted, ever found out the truth about me, about these shoes, about the life I was faking, this fairy tale would turn into a scandal overnight. The first call came the next morning. "Campsey." His voice was deep, smooth, like warm chocolate sliding into my ear. I gripped the cheap Nokia like it was a diamond. Yes. It's me. Toby." Like I could ever forget. "I hope I didn't wake you," he said, and I could hear the faint hum of an engine in the background. "No," I lied, though I had barely slept. My night was spent replaying his words over and over like a broken record. "You feel it too, don't you?" He chuckled softly. "Good. Because I was wondering if you'd let me take you out. Tonight." I almost dropped the phone. "Tonight." Me. My eyes darted to my tiny room, the peeling paint, the basket of clothes screaming for laundry. "How could I?" "Toby, Before you say no, think about this. No pressure, no cameras, just us." My lips curved despite myself. "You're very convincing. I'm a tech guy. We solve problems." And just like that I heard myself say, "Okay." Hours later I was standing in front of my mirror, dragging an eyeliner pencil across my shaky lids, whispering silent prayers that my thrift store dress looked expensive under dim lights. When his driver pulled up in a black Range Rover, the entire street buzzed like Christmas. Children pointed, neighbors peeped from behind curtains, climbed in, cheeks burning. The restaurant was nothing like I imagined. It wasn't loud or flashy. It was soft jazz, warm lights, and a view of the lagoon that stole my breath. Toby was already there, rising from his seat like something out of a magazine. When his eyes found me, the entire room blurred. "You look." His gaze swept over me slowly, and for a second, I felt like the most beautiful woman in Lagos. "Perfect." Talk. God, we talk. About music, childhood dreams, even our fears. Well, his fears. Mine stayed locked behind my ribs with the truth I couldn't tell. And then came the gifts. Flowers delivered to the boutique where I worked. A delicate bracelet that made my coworkers scream and whisper. But with every call, every smile, every kiss on my hand that sent fire up my spine, the lie grew heavier. Because while Toby thought he was falling for a classy woman with her life together, the reality was brutal. I was one bounced rent payment away from homelessness. I was still wearing the shoes I borrowed, praying my boss wouldn't notice. And the worst part, I didn't know how to stop. So I let him love the version of me I created, even as guilt curled tighter around my throat like a noose. But fate doesn't let lies live forever. Because one afternoon, Toby walked into the boutique, unannounced, and hanging in the glass display behind me, under bright lights for everyone to see, was the same pair of red-bottom heels I wore the night we met. His eyes locked on them, then on me. And in that moment, the ground under my feet gave way. I heard the boutique door chime and looked up with my practiced smile, the one I used for customers. But the smile died on my lips. Toby stood there, tall, commanding, devastating in a crisp white shirt and dark slacks. His presence sucked the air out of the room, made every mannequin seem like background noise. For a second I thought my heart stopped. "Surprise," he said softly, though his eyes weren't smiling. They were sharp, searching, burning through every layer of the lie I'd wrapped around myself. "Toby, what are you doing here?" My voice cracked as I stepped out from behind the counter, my palms clammy against my dress. "I wanted to see you. No appointments, no fancy places. Just you." His tone was calm, but it had an edge, a blade hidden in velvet. I tried to steady my breath, but then his gaze shifted past me to the glass display behind the counter. Shoes. The same red-bottom heels I wore the night we met. Sitting under bright lights, tagged with a price I couldn't afford in 100 paychecks. I saw the realization flash across his face like lightning. His jaw tightened, his eyes darkened. When he looked back at me, the softness was gone. "Campsie," he said slowly, "tell me I'm wrong." My throat closed. "Toby, Those shoes," he cut in, voice low, dangerous. "You said they were yours." I swallowed hard, shame crashing over me like a tidal wave. "I never said." "Don't." His voice snapped like a whip. "Don't lie to me again." The boutique felt smaller, hotter, like the walls were closing in. Tears pricked my eyes, but I blinked them back. "Yes," I whispered finally, my voice breaking. "I borrowed them. The dress too. I just wanted one night to feel like I belonged." His silence was worse than his anger. "I'm not who you think I am," I continued, words tumbling out with my sobs now. "I work here. I barely make enough to pay rent. I've never been to Dubai, I've never eaten caviar. God, I don't even know what caviar looks like." A bitter laugh tore from my throat. "I'm a broke boutique girl, Toby. That's who I am." For a long moment, he just stared at me, his face unreadable. Then slowly he said, "You lied to me." "I'm sorry," I whispered, tears streaming down my cheeks. "I didn't mean to. I didn't think I'd what? Fall for you." His voice was soft now, but it cut deeper than a shout. "You should have trusted me, Campsie." The look in his eyes made my chest cave in. Betrayal. Disappointment. He turned to leave, and I reached for him, desperate. "Toby, please. Don't," he said without looking back. And then he was gone. The door closed behind him with a soft chime that sounded like a death sentence. I sank to the floor, sobbing into my trembling hands. And in that moment I knew. I hadn't just lost a man. I'd lost the only chance at love I'd ever believed in. Rain fell like the sky was mourning with me. 3 days. That's how long it had been since Toby walked out of the boutique and out of my life. 3 days of unanswered calls, unread texts, and a silence that screamed louder than any insult could. I sat on my narrow bed, the bracelet he gave me clutched in my fist. It glimmered faintly in the dim light of my tiny room, mocking me with memories of candlelit dinners and soft laughter. Ngozi barged in without knocking, her wrapper tied loosely around her chest. "Campsie, you never chop since morning. You won, kill yourself." I shook my head, tears sliding silently down my cheeks. She sighed, sitting beside me. "Babe, talk to me. What do you want me to say?" My voice cracked like glass. That I ruined the best thing that ever happened to me. That I lied because I was ashamed of my life. Her arms circled me, and for a moment, I let myself cry into her shoulder like a child. But even her comfort couldn't drown the voice in my head. Toby's voice, cold and broken. "You lied to me." On the other side of the city, Toby sat in his glass office, staring at a report he couldn't read. His mind wasn't on the numbers. 'Twas on her. Her laugh, soft and unpolished. The way her eyes lit up when she talked about books. The way she looked at him, not like a billionaire, not like a trophy, but like a man. And the betrayal that sliced through all of that like a blade. "Sir, the investors are waiting," his assistant said. He waved her off, his jaw clenched. Damn her. Damn the way she got under his skin, rewired his world, made him feel things he had no business feeling. He should hate her. Walk away. Forget she ever existed. So why did the thought of her crying somewhere, alone, feel like a weight on his chest he couldn't shake? That night I packed the shoes, the dress, the bracelet, everything that tied me to him. I slipped them into a box with shaking hands and whispered to the empty room, "It's over." But fate wasn't done with us. Because while I was busy ending the story in my head, Toby was in his car, gripping the wheel so tight his knuckles turned white, whispering to himself the words that would change everything. "I can't let her go." The boutique was empty when I slipped in the next morning. I wanted it that way. No curious co-workers, no whispers. Just me, this box, and the end of a dream. I placed the red bottom heels inside, tucked the bracelet on top, and sealed the lid like I was sealing my heart. Then I scribbled a note with trembling hands. "Thank you for making me feel like Cinderella, even for a moment. Campsie." Tears blurred the ink, but I didn't care. I called a dispatch rider, handed him the box, and gave him Toby's office address. When the door shut behind him, I slumped into a chair, my chest hollow. It was done. The last piece of him was gone. Or so I thought. Because that evening, as I walked home under a bruised sunset, a black Range Rover pulled up beside me. My breath caught. The back door opened and Toby stepped out. He looked different, rumpled, raw, like he hadn't slept in days. His eyes found mine, and for a moment neither of us moved. Then he walked toward me. Slowly, deliberately. Like a man crossing a battlefield, he didn't care if he survived. "Campsie," he said, his voice hoarse. "Get in the car." No, my own voice trembled, but I stood my ground. "You made it clear, Toby. You can't trust me." "No. I can't keep pretending." His jaw tightened, and for a second I thought he'd argue. Instead, he did something that broke me completely. He went down on one knee. Right there. On the dusty roadside. Gasps rippled from bystanders. Phones came out, cameras flashing, but Toby didn't care. His eyes, those fierce, beautiful eyes, were on me and me alone. "I don't care about the shoes. Or the dress. Or the lies," he said, voice shaking with something raw and real. "You think money impresses me. Doesn't. You did. You, Campsie. The way you laugh. The way you make me feel like a man, not a headline." Tears burned my eyes as my hands flew to my mouth. "I was angry because you didn't trust me," he continued, his voice breaking now. "But I should have shown you that you could. I should have fought for you then. So I'm fighting now." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. My heart nearly stopped when he opened it to reveal a ring that caught the dying sun and set it on fire. "Marry me, Campsie. Not because I'm rich. Not because of the world. But because when I close my eyes, it's you I see. Always you." The crowd erupted, voices shouting, horns blaring, but all I heard was my own heartbeat as tears spilled down my cheeks. "Yes," I whispered, then louder, laughing through my sobs. "Yes." He surged to his feet, sweeping me into his arms as the crowd cheered. When his lips met mine, the noise faded, the city disappeared, and for the first time I believed in fairy tales again. Later he showed me the box I had sent. Inside, the shoes gleamed like a memory. "These," he said, pressing a kiss to my forehead, "are going in a glass case. So our kids will know how their mother walked into my life and changed everything." And just like that, my borrowed shoes became the first chapter of a love story no one could ever buy.